Ladies and gentlemen, I am the American Spy Fox, and you are watching American Grunge News. Every week, it is my duty to bring you all of the latest rock news publications in one compilation. Before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to the YouTube channel, The Young Jerks. Thank you guys for inviting me to your channel. They recently had me on for a lengthy conversation about Cobain and Love's father Hank Harrison and Epstein and Billy Corgan. If you missed that, the link will be below. You can check that out on the Young Jerks YouTube channel. One more thing I'd like to add, you may or may not be seeing me around YouTube on other channels. I just finished, I guess what you would say, a commercial for a certain company. They hired me for an ad campaign, which I found really strange. I think it was because I was so cheap and all the bigger YouTubers were taken. So you might see my face pop up in one of those annoying ads before you're watching some other guy's video. And before I forget, there's one more thing that I would like to show you. This is a 90s nostalgia card game. It showed up in my house. I did not purchase it. I have no clue how it got here. It literally showed up underneath my bed. I asked my boy, did you buy this? Did you put it in my room? No, Dad, I don't know where it came from. Don't know where this thing came from, but I'd like to use it for these weekly videos. The idea for the game is very simple. One person reads down a list of clues, and the first person to guess what the clues are referring to gets a point. And every clue in here refers to something that has to do with the 1990s. So, for each episode, I'm going to read the list of clues on one card, and then at the end, we will give the answer. Now, if you already know the answer, of course, you can type it in the comments below before anyone else does. But if you happen to be stumped, I will give you the answer at the end of American Grunge News. All right, I found a good one. I was a nomadic musical event. I premiered in 1991. An extraordinary or unusual thing, person, or event. My first year's tickets said, "Take the whole day off." I was created as a Jane's Addiction farewell tour. The Jim Rose Circus was one non-musical offering. The Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nine Inch Nails played What Am I with the initial L. Now, for a lot of you, that's going to be a real easy one. And I can tell you that they range from fairly easy to very difficult. If you don't know the answer, hang around until the end. But right now, it's time for rock news. So for our first story, you remember that one band, Creed? Now there's a name you haven't heard in a long time. The singer was raised in a very oppressive church where his parents guilted and shamed him for every decision he ever made in his life. And it led to drug addiction and all kinds of crazy things that happened. And he thought aliens were chasing him or something. Well, they're back apparently. They are rumored to be planning a tour to celebrate the 25th anniversary of their, I think, only album that did well, Human Clay. On July 13th, Creed's social media was updated with an 18-second video containing early photos of the band to the soundtrack Are You Ready?, one of their major hits. 25 years ago, 1999 was when the world was introduced to Creed. Remember the video where he flies like Jesus? It was so over the top. It was like a throwback to 80s videos. The social media read, "Let's go back to the summer of 99. Yes, let's do. I would love to do that. If you had a time machine, I would be the first to buy a ticket. So, if you were a big Creed fan, apparently that guy has regained his sanity and they're going back on tour at some point in the future. Who knows? Maybe they're going to get it together this time. Moving forward, there is new news surrounding Kathleen Hanna, a Bikini Kill. And no, it's not a Bikini Kill show or tour. It's much cooler than that. Kathleen Hanna has announced that she's releasing a memoir next year. It's going to be called Rebel Girl, My Life as a Feminist Punk. I wish it would have been titled My Life as a Feminist Punk While I Also Worked as a Stripper. Unfortunately, it's not coming out until Tuesday, May the 14th, 2024, so we're going to have to wait for this one. But Kathleen promises that there will be new anecdotes of her friendship with Kurt Cobain and the time that they ran around together in Olympia, Washington. That's why I'm so much looking forward to it. As you guys know, I have wrote about every detail of Kurt Cobain's life that I can find. And if Kathleen comes out with new stories that she's promising in her memoir, I'm definitely going to be purchasing or probably pre-ordering this book and reading it the day it is released. She'll also be talking about her relationship with Ian MacKaye, of course, Discord Records, Minor Threat, Fugazi, legendary punk status. And as well, if you didn't know this, I didn't know this until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, she fell in love with Ad-Rock, Adam Horovitz of the Beastie Boys, and they've been married like forever. She's going to be talking about her relationship with Adam and the Beastie Boys. Kathleen Hanna was quite the catch when she was a young lady, I must say. Like, she was hot, she was smart, she didn't give a fuck. All the cool things that you want in a girl, right? Oh, and if you didn't know, a documentary about her life called The Punk Singer was released in 2013. I think I'm going to be checking out that documentary again to see what more I can learn about those days in Olympia. The Kurt Cobain estate has once again made history. Kurt Cobain has once again made history. As we all know, a few years ago, his Martin acoustic electric guitar that he used for the Unplugged Live in New York performance was auctioned. The Rhodes Air, they make high quality microphones, audio interfaces, all kinds of recording equipment. The heir to that $1 billion fortune is the one who paid over $6 million, won the Martin acoustic guitar. Now, one cool thing about that guy is he has said he plans a world tour where peasants like you and me can go and see the guitar. That has yet to happen. Maybe, the pandemic and blah, blah, blah. He claims he's eventually going to take the guitar around the world for Nirvana fans to see. I can't wait. If he comes to Ohio, I'm definitely going to be going to see that guitar. Cobain has made history once again. Not only the most expensive guitar ever purchased, the most expensive pick ever purchased. Bringing a picture of the pick on screen, you can see that Kurt signed it with the D before the T. The D is for Donald, Kurt Donald Cobain, as he would sometimes do. And he even drew the Tortex Dunlop little logo tortoise on the back. It is thought that the pick comes from the same week. The pick was acquired April 16th, 1990, that same month that Nirvana was in Madison, Wisconsin at Smart Studios demoing tracks that would eventually become the iconic Nevermind. And by the way, the demo of Polly from that week's Smart Session Studios did end up on the final album. So it's quite possible that this pick that Nirvana fan Sean Erdeshek won at auction for $14,685, it's very possible that Kurt used that very same pick to play Polly and some of the other demos that would end up on Nevermind. This makes it a very unique piece of musical history. Unlike the Rhodes billionaire heir, Sean seems to really know that he has something special. In an interview with Guitar World, which is an online publication that I believe just copies Guitar Magazine, he says, "I knew this piece was special when I saw it come up at auction. Guitars and other equipment used by Kurt Cobain have gone for exorbitant prices." And he would go on to say this. This pick, however, was signed by Kurt on one side and he drew on the other side. His personality comes through in this little doodle. And yes, I agree with you, Sean. Absolutely correct. Kurt's personality did come through. Kurt Cobain's favorite animal was the turtle. The tortoise. The turtle. Dave Grohl, when Dave first joined Nirvana and moved into that one-bedroom apartment on Pear Street in Olympia, Kurt, of course, had the bedroom. And Kurt kept turtles in I believe they're called terrariums, aquarium, I don't know. Big fucking glass box. Dave, in later interviews, would complain that the turtles would tap on the glass all night long while he was trying to sleep, and it drove him insane. But Kurt would not get rid of the turtles. Nirvana fan Sean Erdeshek would also say, "It feels surreal to own this piece of musical history. It is exceedingly rare and special to have something played by his hand and subsequently signed." It sounds like this guy knows what he has. It sounds like he really appreciates what he's got. And I like that. I like it that a true Nirvana fan has this piece of history, not some guy who's just using it as a tool to promote his company to make more money. Because trust and believe, the billionaire Rhodes heir, he bought that Martin acoustic to promote Rhodes microphones. That's all that came down to. I didn't even know what Rhodes microphones was until he bought that guitar and started talking about his father's company or whatever. Sean seems to be a true Nirvana fan that truly appreciates what he has. I got nosy. I looked him up on Facebook, on social media. Here's a picture of him. He looks like the kind of guy that's down for whatever. He looks like an adventurer. Like he's just like, yeah, let's go do this shit. I like that attitude. Moving forward, I just want to briefly mention the Foo Fighters after the passing of Taylor Hawkins at age 50. The Foo Fighters put on a tribute concert to Taylor Hawkins. Taylor's son was there. There are too many celebrities and rock musicians to list that came and performed at this 6-hour-long tribute concert for Taylor Hawkins. Okay? It has been nominated for an Emmy. And I just thought that was worth mentioning. I believe there are 5 nominees. A new documentary about U2, Bono, and The Edge. They made one album. They made one good album. Why do people treat U2 like they're the Beatles? I don't get it. They made a 40-year career out of one album. You probably disagree, but anyway. There's a David Letterman special. There's an Elton John documentary. I'm hoping the Foo Fighters tribute to Taylor Hawkins wins that Emmy because he deserves it. I always thought that I would get to meet Taylor Hawkins someday. I'd even talked on the channel in the past about how, I'm going to go to a Foo Fighters concert and hold up a sign that says, "Can I please drum, this song," or whatever, as they are known to allow people to come on stage and play along with them. One thing I never mentioned was I wanted to do that mainly to shake Taylor Hawkins' hand. Like, I would have probably bypassed Dave Grohl and went straight to Taylor Hawkins. Just keeping it real, keeping it 100. Judas Priest is replacing Ozzy Osbourne on the Power Trip lineup tour. Now, this is a juggernaut of metal. Here's the lineup for the Power Trip shows: Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest now instead of Ozzy Osbourne, Tool, Metallica, juggernauts of metal. Ozzy can't make it. Unfortunately, he did have a public statement. Ozzy said, "Unfortunately, my body is telling me that I'm just not ready yet, and I am much too proud to have the first show that I do in nearly 5 years be half-assed." The most recent news about Ozzy Osbourne, he had a filter taken out of his body. It was filtering out blood clots in his legs. So that's good news. If they remove the filter, that means the blood clots have all been removed. His circulation is good. His blood pressure is good. I hope he returns. I really do. At least for one more show. At least one more show, Ozzy. Give us one more. Ozzy has stated that he is good friends with Rob Halford and Judas Priest, and they graciously said that they will fill in for Ozzy. Still one hell of a lineup. I hate to end this on a somber note, but the last thing I want to talk about is Sinead O'Connor. If you have no clue who Sinead O'Connor is, she was, to me, when I was a kid, she was shocking. I had never seen a woman with no hair. That was like very, very risque, very avant-garde sort of artist. And she had this awesome song called "Nothing Compares to You." Well, she recently passed, and it's rumored, speculated, they're not saying yet whether it was, natural causes or whether it was the infamous S word. Now, we know that her son, just a few years ago, committed the infamous S word. I can't imagine what that would have been like for Sinead O'Connor. It is not natural. Children should bury their parents, not the other way around. I felt so sorry for her, man. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And I can't imagine the pain that she was going through the last couple years of her life. Now, here's an interesting tidbit about Sinead O'Connor linked to Courtney Love. In 94, Hole, Courtney Love's band Hole, was not scheduled to play Lollapalooza, but there were a couple shows where Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins would cut their headlining show a little short so Hole could play right before them. He did it as a favor to Courtney because they were lovers. Clearly, they were lovers throughout Courtney's marriage to Cobain. That's another subject. In 95, Courtney Love's band Hole was scheduled to play Lollapalooza. They were on the bill. So was Sinead O'Connor. Courtney Love stated very proudly in an interview that during that tour, Sinead O'Connor came up to her and she was depressed. And she said, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm kind of sick of the music scene. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm so miserable. And guess what? Courtney Love proudly states she said to Sinead O'Connor, well, just fucking quit then. And that's what Sinead O'Connor did. She literally walked away from Lollapalooza, walked away from music. And the next thing I ever heard about her is this sad, tragic ending. Had it been any other musician, quite possibly they would have tried to help Sinead O'Connor. They would have maybe lifted her spirits and said, no, you're an amazing artist. You can't quit. What are you talking about, right? But because she went up to Courtney Love, she got the most negative response a person could get when they are in crisis. Courtney wanted to get rid of all the other women. She didn't want to compete with other women. As far as she saw it, she was the only bitch standing, as she's said many times. Me and Madonna are the last bitches standing. Man, I wish Sinead O'Connor would have went up to any other musician when she decided to quit. They may have noticed that she was depressed and tried to get her help. It could have altered things, but, we never know. We never know. Rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor and her child. To end this on a little brighter note, I did find a use for my whole t-shirt. I cut it up into a handkerchief, and now I can use it to blow my nose. Oh, and by the way, the clues from the 90s nostalgia card. The answer, if you did not already know, the Jane's Addiction Farewell Tour became Lollapalooza. Be back next week. Bye-bye.